Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Binance Podcast. My name is Wei Zhou. I'm the host for this show. In my daytime job, I'm the Chief Financial Officer for Binance. For those who do not know, Binance is a blockchain company and operates one of the biggest cryptocurrency exchanges in the world. We also are helping to build a bigger blockchain ecosystem with other key initiatives and investments, including Binance Labs, the Blockchain Charity Foundation, Binance Info Academy, as well as Trust Wallet and Travel by Bit. For me, I joined Binance from the traditional financial world, where I served as the Chief Financial Officer for several Chinese and American companies, two of which were listed on NASDAQ and the New York Stock Exchange. I started off my career in investment banking with Goldman Sachs. From my personal background, I was born in China, I grew up in the US, and did university at Harvard. After graduation, I pretty much moved around Asia and the US, between Hong Kong, Beijing, LA, and Singapore. Since I've joined Binance, I basically have witnessed a lot more people who are becoming more and more interested in blockchain and cryptocurrency. And that interest comes not just from simply buying Bitcoin or trading, but from more a deeper interest. So what I want to do with this show is to spend time talking to specialists, entrepreneurs, scholars, influencers, basically leading people from a variety of industries. One of the first guests I talked to is Helen Hai. She came from a social development and charity background. I will also be spending time with people from politics, entertainment, gaming, advertising, just a variety of background, and talking about blockchain technology. Hopefully through these conversations, we can share insights on how blockchain is changing not just these different industries, but also in changing the world. Here's a quick disclaimer. All opinions expressed by our host and our guests on this podcast are merely their own opinions. They do not imply any endorsements or opinions of their companies. You should not take these opinions as specific investment advice, as you will be solely responsible for your own investment. I recorded the following conversation with Alexandre at the Paris Blockchain Summit 2 weeks ago. I've known Alex for quite a bit of time. He's currently the CEO and founder of the Chiliz and Socios blockchain, which is doing some really amazing work in terms of trying to bring sports onto the blockchain. Alex is a serial entrepreneur starting in the mid-90s, so he's a dinosaur in my book. But he's done some really cool things in the early days of internet, building network routers, and then later building a budding online poker empire. I really enjoyed this conversation with Alex and learned quite a bit about the work he's doing, and I hope you enjoy it as well. Hey everybody, this is Wei. I'm here back again at Paris Blockchain Week Summit, and I'm sitting down with my next guest, AlexDreyfuss, who is the founder CEO of Socios, and they are the issuer of the Chiliz token.
Hi, Wei. Nice to see you again, actually.
Good to see you, Alex. We've known each other for quite a bit of time. From my conversation with you, you've been an entrepreneur from day one. Tell us a little bit about your background. Like most people are college dropouts, but you're a high school dropout.
I left school when I was 18 without the approval of my parents. So literally, I was 18 1st of November, and 4th of December, I resigned from school. I came back home. My mother slapped me, like literally first time ever she slapped me. And I created my first company in 1995, which was what we would call today a web agency. Sold it to Publicis in 1997, and then I created one of my...
Where was this? This is
in Lyon, in France.
In France.
I'm from France,
You're
yeah.
from France.
With
Okay.
this accent, you cannot miss it. Then I spent like the last 25 years more or less in the internet space. Content especially, made a lot of content, work in the advertising space, and moved in the gambling space in 2004. Created an online sports book regulated in UK that we sold in 2006. And then I moved to Malta, where I live for the last 15 years. And created another online poker company and online sports book that I sold in 2012 to a Las Vegas-based company. So very much like B2C driven, consumer facing product, regulated product. And what I would say excites me, it's always about technology and product innovation. I'm not a gambler. I play poker a little bit, but it's really about creating a product that doesn't exist.
Yeah. So just personal fact, fun fact about Alex. He's the only French person I've ever met that do not drink wine.
Yeah,
I was flabbergasted. I'm shocked to this day.
Actually, the real story about that is the fact that because I left school and I dropped out school very early, I never had this, college parties.
You never had the party culture.
No, it's right. It's true. So I don't drink wine, don't drink coffee, I don't drink Coke. But as I always say, I have a lot of other sins, and they're usually related to my work.
So how did you get into blockchain? Like,
I have a very, not controversial, but a very late journey into the crypto space. I was actually against, if I can say so, against crypto and Bitcoin for many years. I recall my first encounter with crypto. I think it was 2013 in Iceland. I was visiting Iceland, and there was this, hey, you can pay in this bar with Bitcoins. Well, that's cool. But as someone who used to work in the gaming industry, and AML, KYC, banking, payments is part of your daily stuff, I thought it will not be an industry I want to be involved in. And the idea is I educated myself, I learned, and then I realized the real potential of blockchain and crypto. And that's really how it started. So it started very late, started like mid-end 2017. And that's how we really started to build the project or the company that we are launching now.
So what is that company? I know it's the token is Chiliz token.
Yes.
And just full disclosure, I think Binance is we own a little bit of the token. We're an investor in the ICO. Personally, I know a little bit about it, but I want to give you an opportunity to talk about how the idea started from day one and where we are today, and what do you want to get to?
Sure. So the idea started actually 3 to 4 years ago, absolutely not related to crypto and blockchain. At that time, we used to have something that we call Global Poker League, GPL, which was like an eSports league with poker players all over the world competing against each other. And we created a league that was broadcasted on Twitch, 400 hours of broadcast, 180 matches. We had like a few millions of people over time that watched the content.
So people were watching professional poker?
Yes, only professional poker players playing against each other.
And like the big name, like Phil Hellmuth.
Phil and Daniel were not a part of it as players, but they were actually hosts, and they were commentating.
That's more fun then.
Yeah, but we have them as OG. We had actually all the OGs of poker, and the current number 1, number 2, number 5, number 10, number 50, etc. We have 72 professional poker players that signed a contract to be part of it.
Oh, wow.
And what happened after 1 year is, it didn't work, first of all. So we created the content, people watched, but there was a lack of engagement. We started to think, how can we make people watching this content more interested, more vested? And we looked at that time, the crowdfunding equity. We said, hey, maybe fans could buy a piece of the team that we created, and they will influence these teams. Legally, it brings a lot of issue. It's crowdfunding equity. It could work in US, but could not work in Europe. So you don't have really a global solution for that. Then we started to look at how we could improve that. So we looked at Formula One, you know Formula One, the racetrack and stuff. They have an electronic version of that.
Formula E.
Formula E, exactly. Sorry, and they have something that is controversial, but I love it. It's called the Fan Boost.
Okay.
You can vote online before every race. Who's gonna have more power in the car? So that creates a new kind of content, and I create a new engagement. And we inspired ourselves. We learned a bit of that, and more or less we spent 2 years thinking about this, and we realized that what we wanted to do was creating a platform where sports team and esports team actually can engage and monetize their fans globally. And the idea behind that was, if you look at soccer or football, 99% of the fans of a team are actually outside of the stadium and are global. So the fan of a team like Paris Saint-Germain in France or Juventus or Lakers,
they're everywhere.
They're everywhere. It's a global play. But yet the only relationship that the club has with their fans is what's happening in the stadium, and somehow a little bit on social media, of course, but it's a one-way relationship. So what we created was a platform where you and I can buy what we call fan tokens. So we issue fan tokens of some of the biggest sports teams in the world. And with these fan tokens that are like almost like staking, you can vote on decision that the club is asking you.
You're building a platform then, a way for a fan through their tokens to engage in the activity of the sports club then.
Yes.
Right? Because I know maybe last 5 or 10 years, one thing that got really popular in the US is fantasy sports.
Of course.
Right. And I think they also started doing daily fantasy drafts. People can like put money in,
Yes.
and then that's not gambling in the US because it's a quote unquote skills, not a luck based
Yes.
activity. Right. And I think that has allowed, many players to grow. I think, but that is a very North American based phenomenon for fantasy sports. Right?
Fantasy, because we come.
But what you're doing is very different.
We don't do fantasy, we don't do gambling, actually, but we are aiming to achieve the same need. Is how can you engage fans to have a vested interest in the team they support?
Yeah, because if you look at like the US, like the two big events that people talk about is like your fantasy draft,
Yes,
right?
100%.
Your football fantasy draft, like everybody's doing it in the office. And then the other one is the NCAA tournament.
Yeah.
64 teams,
Madness,
you fill out a
college
pool,
madness.
the $1 million pool, all that stuff. So I feel like that's a North American way of doing it, in that you're competing against each other based on the performance of the individuals or the teams. But in this one, it feels more like the video games I play, like team management, like drafting of the players, trading of the players, designing the jerseys, like more like a general manager.
First of all, people don't realize that, but fantasy sports in US especially is an anomaly globally. It's because online gambling is more or less illegal in the sports betting. Is illegal or was illegal because it's changed a few months ago.
I see.
But was illegal till now in US. That fantasy sports managed to rise. In the rest of the world, we do have sports betting more or less in every single country. Therefore, fantasy sports is not a big thing, except a bit in UK in football. Otherwise, not a big thing. In our case, we are not making, at least not yet, having people competing against each other. It's more about supporting the team that you want to support and being heard and listened. Because there is a big frustration right now. Is fans all over the world. You have a fan in Thailand, in Shanghai, in Japan, or in Paris that is a fan of a football team. Again, I just have a one-way relationship with that team. And so we want to bridge that. We want to bridge this gap between the fan engagement, but also the fan monetization. You were based in the US, for example, you make zero revenue to Paris Saint-Germain, even though you're a fan of that team. And the idea is for the teams is how can they improve this monetization globally. They have hundreds of millions of fans, each of them. And that's what we are doing, creating a digital asset that gives you a voice, a power that you can hold and give you benefit out of it. So we are not a currency. A lot of people always ask us, hey, can I buy tickets and merchandising with these fan tokens? No, we're not creating a cryptocurrency where you can buy tickets. You can use euro and dollar for that. Honestly, works very well. It's rather that we are giving you a limited amount of supply of a fan power, a fan voice. And by having this, we're giving you an emotional experience that you didn't have before. And that's what we are tokenizing.
Who have you signed up?
We officially signed the Paris Saint-Germain, which is the number one in France. We signed the Juventus, which is the number one in Italy. And we will announce in the next, I will say probably a couple of weeks now, our first Premier League team, our first Spanish team, our first German team. And then we're going to announce the second wave of teams in each country as well. We just opened an office in Buenos Aires where we're going to sign teams in Brazil, Argentina, and Mexico. So this is really a global play. And this is actually a liquidity play. You're going to buy a PSG token. And we know, because that's what Nielsen, for example, the survey company told us, is fans of 4.6 football team. Meaning that if you live in Paris, of course, you prefer to buy Paris only. But if you live in Japan, there is no local team as a European soccer team you're going to support. So you're going to buy a bit of Paris, you're going to buy a bit of Barcelona, and maybe a small team in UK because there is something related to them. So our goal is to launch, we're launching this summer the mobile app. Going to have 6 to 10 teams at first, but eventually we'll have 1,000 teams. And we are already contacted by more and more small and medium teams that wants to be part of it.
For example, I own Juventus token,
yes.
Right? Juventus has, 400, 500 million fans around the world, right? A lot of them are in Asia, in per se, in Hong Kong, Singapore, China, old school Italian team, right? As an owner of that token, what can I do?
So Juventus has 340 million fans, 90 million in fans, for example, in China. Of course, and I'm going to say that on record, These numbers are sometimes bullshit because it's not precise science, but it's a real guidance.
Pretty close.
Yeah, it's a real guidance. Now, what's gonna happen is you as a token holder, wherever you're based, gonna give you the real utility of these fan tokens is the following. One, it's the voting right, which is for us the foundation of what we do. Is you being heard and you being rewarded of being a fan.
What can you vote on?
You're gonna be so that's up to the club. Obviously, we are
so you work with the club,
yes,
closely to decide.
So we sign deals.
Activities.
So obviously we sign deals with each club to issue their token, to onboard them on the platform, and that's an exclusive relationship, obviously. And we guide them on what they should ask to their fans, but it's up to them what they want to ask. What I didn't say is, let's say for the jersey is always the example. Most of the teams will ask what's going to be the design of the second or the third jersey of the team. And they're the one asking the question. They are the one offering A, B, C, D as an answer. So they are fine with the 4 answers. But when the team is going to ask their fan about that, the team is committed to enforce the outcome of the vote. So there is a legal agreement. It's binding. So you as a token holder, you really have a voice that matters in the choice of the question that has been asked. And the funny part of that, and we discovered that, to be honest, the last few months, is sponsors of these teams are asking us to jump in the mix because they want the fans of the teams to be more involved in some decision as well. It's in their benefit, especially the Adidas, Nike.
They get to their logos appear more, not just so if that's the case, if I'm a sponsor of the I'm Nike, right? I have my logo on the jersey.
Yes.
So I get TV time, I get internet time, but now there's even a deeper engagement with the fans.
Adidas, one of the team that we've signed is sponsored by Adidas. The guy came to us and said, "Hey, yeah, that's actually very interesting. Maybe we want to have the third jersey that is an Adidas product to be defined and designed by the fans, and maybe we're gonna use your platform to make this happen." If we manage to succeed to do that, and of course it's a long journey, but that's exactly where we want to go. Is really increasing and empowering fan and creating a better fan engagement between brands being a team and sponsors and the fans globally.
That's super interesting. So right now you focus just on football or soccer, is it?
So ironically, we started in eSports. Esports is fancy, it's big, it's a $1.2 billion market.
So what is eSport like?
So esports video games. So like Counter-Strike, Dota, League of Legends, all of these things. The industry of esports is it's $1.2 billion market right now.
Bigger viewership than traditional sports.
Some of the biggest, yes, definitely. It's huge in Asia, of course. It's becoming significant in North America. You have franchise as well. You have the same model and you have NBA, NFL, NHL. So it's very interesting. The only issue we have with esports is the low monetization of users. It is said that the average revenue per user, ARPU, of esports fan is like $4 to $6. The ARPU of a soccer fan is $60+.
Of course. Yeah.
So for us, we didn't want to be just exposed into esports. So we decided to be multi-sports. So we started with soccer/football and we signed the biggest sports team in the world and more to be announced. In esports, we will announce as well this summer team that we have signed already that are some of the biggest European esports team that are big in League of Legends, big in Dota 2, big in Fortnite/PUBG as well. And
is there a difference in the fan base? I would assume the esports fan base is probably younger.
Yeah, right? Definitely younger, more digital.
The football fans are more older.
They are more older. They are more global as well. They are more localized.
One of the big things that we talk about at Binance, and then I spoke a bunch of times here, is basically how do we increase the mass adoption of cryptocurrency. And I feel like in this case, if I'm a fan of this club, and before I can basically go on Twitter and yell at them, or only when they put stuff out do I have a chance to participate. But it seems like as a fan, if I want to have a voice in each of some of these decisions, granted they're going to be probably small. Like you're not gonna tell them, should I?
Honestly, small teams will, but definitely.
Okay.
But big teams is going to be mainly based on cosmetic for the time being and fan engagement in general.
You know what I'm saying? Like this is a really cool example of putting cryptocurrency in the hands of people that wouldn't own Bitcoin in the first place, right? Because it's a very different thing that they get to use. Like this is a very, really, really innovative use case.
right?
We hope. I mean, of course, I'm not objective and I'm probably a bit naive, but that's fine. That's my job. But yes,
Most entrepreneurs are.
No, that's what we are. I mean, that's what we have to be.
Most entrepreneurs are.
And so we believe, but the beauty of it is we convinced clubs of our vision, and actually sometimes the clubs are even convincing us even more. But we are convinced that by onboarding mainstream and household brands like these guys, we're gonna help more adoption of so-called cryptocurrency / blockchain product, because indeed a random Joe is gonna buy for $25 of a fan token of PSG, Juventus, or whatever teams we've signed, and by doing this, we're going to educate him about the concept of the token. We're going to educate him about being on-ramped. He has a mobile app. There is a bit of a fluctuation because there is a trading / gamification of it. So to educate mainstream about token and cryptocurrency, we believe that sports is beside finance, sports is the best thing ever you can get globally. And we choose soccer, and I always joke about that, because Americans don't give a shit about soccer. So we can target 99% of the world without targeting US. So we have literally 4 or 5 billion people that we can push for the next few years without targeting US, at least for now.
But what about the US, the North American?
When we will launch our product, we will get more traction, obviously, in US. Having said so, US, each leagues are completely run differently than the rest of the world. It's franchise. It's not like
it's more protected.
Yeah, definitely. So you cannot sign a deal with a team. You have to sign a deal with the league, which is fine.
I see.
And we've been approached by a very famous NBA teams already, which more or less guide us how we should approach the rest of this sport. And we hope to do that by the end of the year. So our goal is launching one, mainly with soccer and esports, and then by the end of the year we're going to approach 2 sports. One is cricket in India, because it's a 1 billion fan base, cricket, India, Pakistan, and Australia. So you have a big in the Commonwealth area, so that's huge, and we already have a joint venture there, so we are ready. And then will be North America with NBA, NFL, NHL, and MLB. That's a different play, that's a different approach, and that has to be a little bit more structured.
Because you show me this token hunting feature.
Yes, but I cannot talk about it yet on your podcast.
That's fine.
But yes, we're gonna. That's fine. No worries.
That's fine. So, what can you talk about in terms of like next phase? Like, I think we'll talk about the past. What we're doing now.
Future for us.
What are you looking for?
What's gonna happen right now is, it's a bit ironic, but now we're going to launch a product. And I like to say that we don't want to be called a project. We want to be called a company. We are a company with 44 people based in Malta, in a regulated environment. We raised money. We developed a product. Now we're going to launch the product. So selling a PowerPoint is very easy. Delivering a product and making it work is the most difficult part. So the challenging part for now is to deliver a real consumer-facing product that's going to work. And for that, we need 3 things: content, distribution, and biz dev. Product, distribution, and biz dev. And what we do in content, it means that we need to onboard more teams. So we have more and more sports and more teams. That's number 1. Number 2 is the product. So the product is we need to finish our product, which is more or less there. It's 95%. And in the next 18 months, we have many innovative features that we want to develop as well. And then third is the distribution. How we make you based in Thailand, how we make you based in North America or in Buenos Aires or in Mexico to buy 1, Chiliz, and 2, engage with the product, either with a local team or a global team. And for that, we're going to make a lot of deals with premium retail company, gift cards, the gift cards that you can get in 7-Eleven or convenience stores. We're going to develop a lot of this where you're going to be able to buy €25 of Chiliz in your convenience stores, and there will be the logo of Juventus, PSG, and stuff like this. So that's going to help massive adoption as well. And our goal in the next 6 to 9 months is focusing on distribution to make sure that more and more people are exposed to our product.
That's awesome. I'm really looking forward to that, to checking it out.
Thanks, Wei.
Thanks, Alex. And that's it for us today.
Thank you for listening to the launch of the Binance podcast. I hope you enjoyed this interview as much as I did. And if you like this show, please share this episode on Twitter, Facebook, Telegram, WeChat, or any other social media platforms. Please don't forget to subscribe to the Binance podcast, and see you next time.